that front, we'd love to hear about what you're doing. I think I've probably talked too much over the top of people yesterday and today, but we're happy to chime in on what we're doing and seeing and display now on mobile and hyper-local tech. What's the best format? Do we want to show you where, so to speak, Kurt? I know you had some going steps.
As I was showing these guys, I can more that I can do quick. So, well, first off, I'm Kirk Caraway. I started Carson Now back in 2009, and last year I was on a fellowship at Stanford, night fellowship. I developed an advertising system that I was playing with at the time I built for Carson Now, and that's turned into a system called Now Ads, which we're now trying to get some folks signed up. We have the Stanford Daily newspaper signed up, we have the Kansas State Policeman signed up, we're using it on Carson Now and South Tahoe now, and soon to be on San Angelo now, over here.
Live.
Live. It's San Angelo Live, right?
Get the brand right.
Yeah, right.
So, but basically, the idea came from, I was sitting in one of these corporate, I used to work for a newspaper company, sitting in one of these corporate meetings that's like, would put a meth addict to sleep, one of those things. And the marketing director was giving out this report about how our newspapers were, our readership survey they did about the newspapers, and he said something that kind of woke me up and changed everything I thought about it. Was that he said that our readers said we were the #1 source of local shopping information for our readership, and he said that was typical of pretty much any newspaper in a local market. I was like, wow. And it's like, what hit me was that first off, being the editor of former editor of two of those papers, I knew that none of that shopping information was coming from the editorial staff, which means it's coming from the ads. Two is the person who's running the website knew almost none of that information, from the information-rich print ads was making it online into the information-free banner ads. And then also realized that the value that advertising had to do with not just throwing things in front of people's faces, it had to do with communicating information. It was information they came there to see. It was important to them. And so I kept trying to figure out ways to make information-based advertising. So I came up with this Now Ad system, which basically pulls the latest posts from Twitter and Facebook and creates an ad out of it. Then it creates kind of basically a news feed of ads. So in your ad stack, it's basically you can read down its text and the photos, and I don't know if I can show everybody how kind of looks. I can show it on Carson Now, carsonnow.org. So each of these things pulls in. They have a little banner on top of it. It pulls things back.
Where's the projector?
I think the projector's on if you want to plug it in. Show everybody.
Oh, no, there's a big. There's a character.
So as an example of this what part of Carson Now is it on?
If you look at the right-hand corner, there's one banner ad at the very top, one standard 300 by 250, and then under that, all of those under that are the Now ads.
Starting with Carson.
Second to get all this going, but so basically one of the things about it, we're able to stack, like on Carson Now, there's about 19 or 20 ads there stacked up. No one complains about their position because all they have to do is update their Facebook page and they're at the top of the list. Because it reads, it's done by chronological order, so you never have somebody complaining that their ad is buried behind everybody else because they can change it. They have the power to do it.
I didn't see where you're talking about on your site. Where is it? So you go to carsonnow.com.
To the right,
Carson CarsonNow.org.
What?
Well, CarsonNow.com will get you there too. So.
Show me what you're talking about.
Right, so below this,
Yeah.
all of these ads,
So these?
it shouldn't be flash, but no, it should get
Okay. Oh, so it's not loading on my tablet. It's probably, this is, I promise.
Is it .org or .com?
.org, CarsonNow.org. But .com should work, actually. It should redirect. Yeah, because the story started, I started as a, I almost started as a nonprofit. And when I got to the part about filing the IRS document, my lawyer said, you're stupid for doing this. I didn't do it this way.
I see that.
So the top part is there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I'm not like embedded on the ad, it's just sure, that's better.
Yeah, that is. And then, I see you go back.
Huh?
I see Blue Valley golf and down that.
There you go. I'm not sure if anybody else is getting it. I can't get this. I don't know how to
This is
get
what I'm getting. You have to send that?
Yeah, I haven't done this. That's probably just going to take too long, so probably just everybody can kind of look at it. You know, if you can't see it on yours, you can pass it around.
So is this, so this is something where instead of using this as a ad server, this is just like an application we can put where we want on our site,
Well,
right?
it's kind of like an app server. I mean,
Right.
we're throwing it out to kind of have people use it right now. I mean, I'm looking for some other people to kind of experiment with. We got a couple of college media sites, which college media, they're busy drinking and not going out selling ads. So
Right.
it's been like 2 weeks they haven't sold one ad yet. They're using their own little things on it. So I'd like to see some kind of people use it, get some feedback on how it works.
So if I were using this, would I upload, say I had 5 advertisers that I wanted to, because I know they have an active social media presence. So would I would upload the ads? Like, does it have to be in a particular
Well, here's the nice
format?
thing. One of the things about this is probably because I'm lazy and I don't like to do things over and over all the time. In order to set up an advertiser, all you need is their name and the address of their Facebook page and an email address. And it automatically goes, they can pull, from that it can pull the graphic, whatever graphic they have as their icon for Facebook, they put their name next to it and it pulls their that's all you have to do. There's no, huh? Right now, we're just on Facebook. We're trying to get the Twitter version of it going this next week. I've got an example I can show what it would look like. But
So it doesn't really run like a graphical ad with the updates below it in text. It
No.
just sort of runs like the profile, the picture that they have on their Facebook page.
right, because the idea was try to not make it is to make it more content based. You're trying to get the actual information. What we have people like, casinos and the cigar bar and things like that. They're posting like, hey, we have karaoke tonight, and oh, here's a picture of our, here's a picture of somebody singing karaoke, or things like that. So they can post this kind of like real-time information. And so, like a restaurant, part of the idea came from a guy who that owned 2 restaurants there, and he's like, I made a Facebook page for him. He never used it. It's like, well, he finally got an iPhone. They figured out that I can update. He said, well, I can take that and make it an ad. So now suddenly his lunch special, he can, in the morning, he can pop it in on his phone and updates right away. So now they can update their ad, right off the bat.
So it pulls in their latest status, the text of their latest status update, but
Or
when they
their
upload
image,
a photo.
or their image or their link. It pulls in the open graph screen.
Right,
So if it
okay.
has images with it.
Okay, so images and text
Yeah,
Or
upload.
the link, like if you have a link, like here's somebody who's a realtor and has a link on their website that pulls up the link and shows their photo of the property that she's trying to sell and that.
And so from the link, it updates it every time, they don't have to
Yeah.
physically do it?
Yeah, so when they update Facebook or Twitter next week, what it does is it discards the old one that was there and puts in the new one. So they can't gain it because we didn't want people to be able to fill up a whole feed, pull just their post. So we make it work. It only pulls the most recent, and then that most recent goes to the top. And so if they're at the bottom, they go
If there's a call to action in the text, like if they say, click to here to see our latest drink specials, That comes through, people can
Yes,
click on
you
that.
can click on that.
Is
and
that
go to the link.
tracked? Is there a way for us to track
Yeah.
that?
You put UTM on it from, you have to do it from the Facebook side, wouldn't you?
We have tracking on the click tracking. A lot of this will go directly to their Facebook page. So what it
Right.
does, we click on it, it'll go to their Facebook page. And from there it does it. We do have some things where some of these things can go through, but we can't track some of them. So we're working on that.
So each unit is a specific company, a specific firm. It's not a scroll of a bunch of different advertisers.
Well, no, it's it's different. So each company has one ad that comes up, and they bought one. So the idea was just to try to
How
make
much
sure
do you
you
charge?
we started it out like at $100 a month, and it showed up on every page. I love because I read about Howard talking about making an ad on every page and giving that kind of presence, which I think is a great idea. This system, the new pricing system, because our traffic tripled over this last year, and so we're dividing it where they can buy the front page, or they can buy all the other pages, or they can buy both. So it's giving them a couple options. So it's still kind of the idea that they know exactly where their ad's going to be.
So what do you think you're going to charge for those three?
We were looking at $100 for the back pages, $150 for the front, and then $225 for both.
Doesn't Facebook have a problem with this?
Not really, because what we're doing, and we're still going to work out the little legal thing we want the advertisers kind of at least opt into. Is basically, when you sign up for Facebook, you're giving Facebook a license to use your content. You own the content, but they get a license to use it. So we're going to do where the advertiser is giving us a license to use their content. That's all it is, and we can pull that from Facebook. Right now, we're pulling from the open graph. We actually have ways around some of that. In fact, the Twitter version of it that we're putting out next week, it doesn't even use their API or anything. It uses the basic goes to the public. Their public thing pulls the embed code and does it. And there's nothing really in their terms of service that forbids that.
So we use the Broadstreet editable ads, and we have a previous hashtag code. So if they want this particular post, they can go right on that. If they don't want it, it doesn't go up. You offer the same thing?
No, someone else told me about that a couple days ago, who looked at Broadstreet, and I thought that was a cool idea. We may look at doing something like that. What I've told people, like the person who does the cigar bar has a thing on there, and she says, well, sometimes we do post it, we don't. It's more for our readership, our Facebook page, not really for their ad. And so if you do that, post that, and then post another post right after it. So it'll still be on our Facebook page, but the next post will be what shows on our ad. So.
And just to follow that, I think it's kind of like a natural transition because you guys do actually something very similar to us. So, I think a lot of, mostly everyone here probably knows a little bit about what Broadstreet does, but we do something we call editable ads, and it's a much more graphical approach to almost the same thing where you're pulling the content off of users' Facebook, Twitter, we do Instagram, text message, RSS. So I think a really good, if you want to get a really good idea of what Broadstreet does, just go to redbankgreen.com. John Ward is a publisher of Red Bank Green, and then look in the upper left-hand side, and you're going to see almost every ad in that spot.
Did you say red bag?
Red Bank.
Red bank.
REDBANK green.com. REDBANK.
And then green, like
Green is in the color.
So the ads are, that we're talking about are where on
Right.
these?
Yeah.
Yep, those guys right up top. Now, if you mouse over that ad, so
Okay. This is very good.
So what you can see is you have the Sickles Market ad, which is a grocery store, 110 over in Red Bank. And every day what they do is they post a picture of whatever they got cooking. And also a message of, a little bit of a description. So you can see the Sickles ad, it's actually really nice. It's all compiled based on what they post on Facebook. So Sickles.
They're posting to Twitter.
There they are. All right. So I'm on the meets. There's another one that's really nice. Just post from Facebook. So what we'll do is we'll pull in the image, we'll pull in the text, we'll recompile the ad. We actually generate the image, so if you have a responsive website, it still looks nice as people start dragging it around. And we also do some cool things actually. So I think we have, with Barista.net or Red Bank Green was the first to ever use it. Barista.net followed. I think the Batavian uses them wherever Howard is, and Arlington now uses them too. I think.
Some of the local level.
guys were using it in a really cool way in the beginning, where it wasn't even for an advertiser. It was really just for status updates for the traffic.
So again, traffic in our area is hell. And so what I did was I would put major incidents, traffic incidents on the site to show advertisers. And I would talk about that. You're now getting the offer to service for our traffic.
Well, we used it at Red Bank Green we repurposed one of these ads on the fly the day of Hurricane Irene. And turned it into our newspaper. We jammed up the header. So we were pulling photographs and news events and driving traffic.
So Kenny, where does the advertiser log in to make any edits or?
All right, so to make the edits, all they have to do is go to Facebook or Twitter. So they just post directly to Facebook or Twitter. So they post an image and a description of that image, and our system will pull in the update.
So directly related to a post that they in their newsfeed?
Exactly. So let's just say at the deli, they make a post, they take a picture of some big nasty hamburger, they say it's $5 in the post, and they put a hashtag RBG. Our system goes out, gets that update, and will recompile the ad.
What if they don't want that post in their ad?
Then they just read out the hashtag.
And is the tag unique per?
Yeah, you can set it on the individual ad, or it can be set on the
We also do Instagram and text message, so a lot of advertisers don't want to go on Facebook or Twitter. They can text in an update.
So,
their phone.
right.
What's the smallest ad size for this whole one?
And it works on any ad size. So actually, what's really cool, if you go to Genesee Sun, which is another really big user of editable ads, it's GENESEESUN.com. And if you click on Sun TV, it's the largest, most obnoxious ad ever. But it's a Village Tavern, and they have this 900 pixel wide by 200 pixel, and it's an editable ad. And you can see that, Josh films high school games, and he streams them live to his website. And he gets about 60 to 100 people viewing the high school game. So right above there, he'll put, he has Village Tavern, they'll just post, hey, we have buffalo wings going, $11.99 or $29.99 for 50. So they update that every single day, and every time Josh is streaming a game, it shows up right where people are viewing the page. So it makes a lot of sense. It is very event-based.
So you could say free wings after the game or whatever. Or
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
So you can tag a tweet, you can tag an Instagram, you can tag
However he wants to do the
Google
updates.
Plus.
However they want to do the updates, we don't do Google Plus. We've never had it requested, but we could add it.
What?
Okay.
Google what? I'm sorry. No,
So you do
I think that.
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram,
RSS.
RSS. What about that chick thing? What's the thing called? Pinterest.
We won't do Pinterest.
Good. You're a manly operator.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, we have the cool thing about Broadstreet is that we're built on top of a real ad server. Broadstreet, aside from selling editable ads, we're a full-service ad server. Much better than OpenX, much better than probably any CMS plugins that you might be using. So we're built on top of a really sophisticated infrastructure where, what was that?
I said preaching, brother.
Are you better than DoubleClick?
We're much easier to use than DoubleClick. And if you can't get up and running in 5 minutes, then we've done something wrong. And I've had some, very non-technical publishers have no problem getting an ad running on Broadstreet.
I have a question.
It's been a huge improvement for us all the way around. Well, we were GFP to OpenX.
Okay, so suppose I'm using Broadstreet Ads.
Right.
I sell an advertiser, their agency gives like some ad that's maybe, this format or some other size ad. So that's not gonna work then with your system. I mean, how do we?
Oh, it can be any size format they want. So, basically all the agency, if you're talking about the folks designing the ad.
Yeah, the people designing the ad. Like, how does the ad go to get in there and
So,
get designed to
exactly.
begin with?
So all you need is a regular 300 by 250 or any size that you want, but leave some space for an image or some text. So, not to send everyone to another website, but if you go to adsofthefuture.com, ads, ADS of the future.com, you can actually get set up or get started using editable ads right there. You don't need an account with Broadstreet. You can just try out ads with you or try out editable ads right there. And that's kind of like our separate marketing site. You push people toward. You can like it while you're there.
So if I said, all right, here's my ad formats on my site, you would say when you make the ads, because we have to make them for our advertisers with the right logo and all that kind of stuff, then you would tell me you need to leave a space this many pixels, right, this many pixels.
Right, right. And you can actually draw that box on the ad visually. So you can draw that box and say, the text should go here, and we'll resize the text on the fly, sort of PowerPoint style.
So you can conform the updated parts that you're sending to the parts that are on our website.
And one last thing, and we do a lot of cool things. So if an advertiser doesn't update the ad that often, we send out automated reminders. And thanks to Scott, he actually just requested this a few days ago. He said, what if you could parse out the date in the ad? A lot of these are very event-based, and they'll say, hey, we have a deal going until Friday. And we'll parse out the date and send them an email the next day reminding them that whatever they were just promoting is over and they can update their ad again.
Is this white label? Does the email come from you or from our site?
It's signed with the name of the publisher. So it's from you guys.
It says Broadstreet, but it says...
It's through our system, but the reply to is to you guys.
Are all the 3 different tier levels that I'm seeing on your website for pricing, do they all include this updatable feature?
So the editable ads are $35 a piece per month. So that is the price of editable ads, but the tiers you see on our website are for our ad server. So where I was going with the ad server before is that editable ads is actually built in a very robust infrastructure. So, whether you're serving, 1,000 ads a month or you're serving 100 million ads a month, we serve it and we don't blame.
So those prices are just for the ad server. They don't include the editable ad feature.
On the front page, the tier prices are for the ad server. Editable ads are kind of like
$5
an extra
a
product.
month per ad.
Right.
Okay.
I wanted to jump in on the scaling issue because this goes to what you and I talked about. We couldn't do GFP anymore because we're too big. Go for publishers. And then we had security problems with OpenX is a big part of the problem also. It really, performance-wise, it couldn't keep up with what we delivered. Our site went from 90-second download to 10-second download, which was Broadstreet. So I know everybody here wants to grow their traffic, and I think you all will. I think something to consider is those free ad servers eventually. They're not going to meet your needs because they bog down, have security issues, or GFP. They'll want to bump you up to the enterprise edition, which is mega times more expensive than Broadstreet.
And Google's DoubleClick for publishers is 91 million impressions. That is going to start charging you.
Right. Then you get the enterprise pricing, and it would be like all of your revenue for the year essentially would go to ad serving. So it's not practical for a lot of indies who actually run a lot of ads in their sidebar because of the model that you need to use. And then our ad server is based on scale is our thing. John was lead engineer at Patch, so Patch 1.0 left Patch, started Broadstreet with me, and I was working at Yahoo on their ad server. So we have a pretty extensive ad server background. So it's not like 2 guys who just wrote an ad server one day. It's based on a lot of a few years of experience.
Kenny, you guys are probably seeing this with TFA, right? For advertising, the advertising who are usually going for advertising, you happen to work with agencies, has that been?
We actually haven't worked with any agencies yet. So we've offered this almost exclusively to indies. I mean, we've talked with you guys, and we haven't really expanded or marketed outside of that group very much.
We use OpenX.
Right.
I don't necessarily have that big of a problem with it, but if we wanted to, you can, obviously do migration. Then I looked at your website, so it includes like migrating all the ads everywhere.
So so if you're coming from another ad server like OpenX, we do an automated import. So whether you have 5 advertisers or 500 advertisers, we can get everything imported, including your stats most of the time. We can get all that imported in a couple hours.
And how is it?
One more question. How customizable, the email that the advertisers get saying your ad was shown X number of times,
right?
Clicks. How customizable is that, and how customizable is the frequency?
Right now it's fixed, but you can pick in terms of automated reports. So if you want an advertiser to get an email every week, you can do it every week, you can do it every month, every quarter, or every year, if you actually want that option. And it'll give you, those are basically the options, but it just gives them a table in the email. So there isn't a lot of verbiage. generally just their stats, views, clicks, impressions.
Can you put like a logo on there or anything?
In the email?
Yeah.
I think we could probably work it out if,
Okay.
it's not that big a deal. But.
Oh, and that's, and
No,
that's,
actually, so that's one thing. And when it comes to feature requests, I like to think we're super responsive. And, there's some features that obviously take a lot longer than others. But, last year, I think it was Ruffin who requested that we update NAM by text message. And that became a big thing for us. Hopefully, what Scott requested is going to become a big thing where, just that smart picking out the date and then reminding the advertiser to update their ad again the next day. That's a big deal. And it also keeps that advertiser, it makes that upsell valuable.
so in terms of sending stats, so it's an automatic thing to the advertisers that they get.
Yeah, it's optional. So you just check a box. You have 4 checkboxes: weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly, I think. And yeah, you just check off which ones that you
And
get.
can you go in there and grab that yourself if you want to create like a custom one on the fly? For a certain period of time, like a client will say, well, can you just give me the stats for last week? And they're,
Oh yeah. So yeah, we have a full reporting interface. So
Okay.
if you do end up seeing the Broadstreet dashboard, it's a lot prettier than OpenX ever was. So I'll just show you very quickly. I'm not gonna go anywhere.
Howard, can I ask you a question? Do you charge your advertisers who use this? Do you just make this available to all advertisers? Do you
Editable
say
ads?
editable ads? Do you
For
charge
us,
them
it's a $75 upcharge.
a $75 upcharge? Okay, just make it
Howard?
Well, whatever, they have to have at least a tile box in, just because it's not really gonna work that great as
Do you get a lot of pushback when you try to operate it?
We've had some other projects going on, so outside of initial kind of kickoff, we haven't really tried to sell it. So we don't really have 2 advertisers on it. It's a product I believe in. We're mainly with them because we needed the upgraded ad serving capability. I think if we ever get out to push editable ads, the feedback from the 2 guys we got, they're real happy with it. So I think if we ever get out there and push it, we can't sell it. But my revenue person works 3 days a week, so we just have to have time.
Julie, I can tell you that before we started getting my top price was $200 a month. We started off with text update only and banners, 460 by
460 by 60.
460 by 60, and we went from there to 300. We are now, as you see in the header, mouse over expansion with the text and the photo poll, we're getting up to 525 a month.
Wow.
Really strong.
Do you sell them as an upgrade, or do you just say this is the price for it and if they use it, if they do it or not?
Yeah. No, I sell it as an
Oh, you
So,
do?
so 525 is an upgrade added to the cost or total?
So 525 is, it's a Chinese menu, so if you want, depending on what you want.
So what kind of reach are your customers expecting to get for that 525?
We're close to 200,000 page views a month.
So you have about 100,000 uniques?
Yes.
So yeah.
Have you found, has anybody reported the difference in click-through rate on the editable ones compared to standard?
Yeah, that's a great question. So editable ads generally get 2 to 3 times the clicks that normal ads get. And Rick from Roosevelt Islander, is he here? Oh, there he is. So I was just talking before, the ad that you have in the top right corner, not editable, but it changes frequently enough. It's not a classic editable ad, but we change it every week. Yeah, and it's like 1% click-through rate. Sometimes it pushes that depending on the week, but it's just updating and keeping your ads fresh.
You said it was because it says click to enlarge.
Right. Oh yeah, so it also entices the click. So there's a lot of things you can do. It just becomes if your advertisers do care about the numbers, some of them don't care.
I can see this with my business. I mean, we have to be an advertiser that updates their social media frequently and actually knows what Facebook. So, so say a restaurant or something like that. So of all the advertisers that I have on my site, about 30% would fall into that category.
Right.
And if I were on their shoes, it's like if you had this as an extra add-on. So if you're charging me $5, so if I charge an extra $15 a month, it's kind of like, well, why wouldn't I pay for that? Because it's kind of like when they see it, it's like, well, it makes their ad so much more effective.
What was something
It just becomes an essential thing. So I
Right,
think
and honestly, we had the same epiphany that now it's had. It's about turning ads, making ads not ads, and turning them into something informational. We want ads to be something people. We don't even want to call them ads. I'm afraid to call them ads. I want it to be something that people look at and they say, "Wow, that's really good food. It's really good looking food. Let me click into that." Turn it into something that's actually food around town as opposed to like eat at Joe's.
Your spotlighted presence on your site.
Exactly.
Do you have an advertiser reporting? So can the advertiser want to see how many impressions you get?
Right. So the advertiser can log in and run reports, see all the stats. We just have them as an admin in our interface.
And all of our advertisers get a report emailed to them directly from the Broadstreet service. So I don't send it together.
It's funny that you do that because, my job is just sales and marketing, and I don't send them to my clients, I take them to them. But that's a matter of time, that's my job is to go to
Traffic is hell.
I told my salespeople, sometimes that, use it as an excuse to go back and talk to your client. Because if you don't keep talking to your clients, you're going to lose your clients. But for a long time, we sent them the emails and they just delete them. They look at them, I have no idea what I'm looking at. And but something you said yesterday that about advertising and stuff. Sometimes don't offer the ad on, just give it to them, add it in your price, and don't show them a separation. I'm just wondering if anybody who's using any of these two, that what method they found better, whether to do the Chinese menu or just say, hey, here's our whole price and here's one of the things that comes with it automatically.
So I think just to chime in on that, there were two strategies. One, Doug Hardy, I don't know if he's in here, but his strategy is just build it into the cost of the ad, and if they use it. And then Josh, Genesee's son, who, if you join the Broadstreet community group on Facebook, Josh is in there, and he's like, just has all kinds of ideas. And his whole thing is that he'll go to the advertiser, and he won't even tell them about editable ads. He'll get them to the point where they're on the fence about actually buying an ad on Genesee's son, and then he uses it as a toss-in to kind of close the deal.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
But he's incorporated into his price structure already. He knows every time he puts an ad up, you might charge him $25.
Right.
So Jack, you raise $100. Go in there and sell it, and then throw that info in. That would be the newspaper way.
Yeah. I think everyone has their own strategy. Some people do the add-on cost. Josh actually, he says it's an add-on. He says it costs $50 more, but he knows going in that he's going to try and do the toss-in, and it doesn't go well. So, that's a strategy.
And kind of picking up on the newspapers thing, one of the mistakes newspapers made is bundling. And, the argument against it always has been, and I think it's happened, is that you values whatever you're bundling in. One way I look at editable ads, and would probably really like to get out and sell it more, is it's a way of increasing rate on customers without increasing rate. So for your existing customers, it goes back, because it's hard to increase your rates. It's a way to go back and say, for another 50, 75, whatever you're charging a month, 25, we can do this for you. And so it becomes another way of increasing your overall revenue.
We charge 50, we just double what we're paying.
Especially when newspapers do it stupidly, like the one that I used to work at that I know that goes out and has been lately going out and saying they're throwing in the banner ads on their website for free if they're buying the print ad. So they just let it work.
Have you found like a maximum number of words that an advertiser should put in is they can still keep the ad effective?
So this is kind of counterintuitive, but we found that if an advertiser posts a message that is short and all fits in the ad, it doesn't actually get that many clicks. But the longer the message is, if it's a little bit longer and there's a little bit of runoff, people usually click to find out what the rest of that message was. That's the theory anyway. We've noticed that with common reads.
What we do in that case is we let it go to the end, and we get rid of the end part and replace it with like an arrow, essentially, that prompts you to click in and do the rest. So essentially you can set the maximum number of lines and the maximum number of words. So they automatically will resize and get bigger if there's less text, and get smaller if there's more text, and then it all fits. You don't have to set like one font size automatically.
Do you have something that's going to flip sizes? Because he was talking about, for the mobile. I know with some people, when we looked at this, we're trying to figure out how to turn 300 by 250 into something on a mobile device. Is there something on Broadstreet that can?
Yeah. So because our ads are just images, you can actually add like one line of style sheet code to your WordPress theme or whatever platform you're using, which will shrink that ad. Usually 300 by 250s look good on an iPhone, but if you want it to be like, 125 pixels and a certain width, that's actually something you can do on your end, and because it's an image, it just works.
So it just shrinks the image down.
Any other advertising innovations?
Well, I guess I was, I've had kind of a change of heart about online display ads since I attended this conference. And it's probably because I really wasn't doing display ads right. I'm not doing display ads correctly on my site.
Right.
Number one is because if we take the easy route and allow the advertiser to give us the ad, or even worse, an agency, they suck. And there's no call to action. They may look beautiful, but there's no call to action, and they get terrible click-through. Number two, if we make the ads in-house, and unless I'm, cracking the whip on every step of the process and making sure there's a call to action, then the sales rep are just going to, submit the, name it, and we get this ad back that, like you said, has the address and the phone number and the email address and the ad and all this stuff. So, it's it's like you throw up your hands. But then speaking to what you said earlier, it is, I think, an elephant in the room, mobile. Because where does display advertising come in with mobile? And how's it going to work with mobile? And we're out selling these big gorgeous ads, but then in my responsive versions of my site, we've stripped out the entire right rail of the site where all the ads are. But so it's a significant issue to talk about because if 38% of my traffic on my site is coming from smartphones, I don't mean mobile and tablets, I consider to be desktop.
Right.
Then some of those ads aren't showing for 38% of the page. I mean that's an elephant. People have to address this.
Right. And
okay. It's an issue. So what I'm kind of gathering from what all you guys are saying, where I think there's some hope for all this. I mean, what I've done is I've taken the display ad part of the equation. That's not all I'm selling. It's part of a package that includes a mobile-friendly marketplace listing that the advertiser can log in and update with photos and what their Facebook link is and change their description, and it saves us a lot of time and energy on it administratively. But it has a Google map and it's got click to call, so it's very mobile friendly. That's part of the package. Plus they get the display ad, and plus they get some sponsored content, and plus their calendar events in our calendar. So it's kind of an overall package that moves away from just leading off with what I derisively call the rectangles.
Right.
Because that's what I'll call it. If I sense that an advertiser is pushing back, I never click on those things. I'm not going to buy one. And I say, what? It's not all about the rectangle. Here's what else we have. On the other hand, if they start right in talking about this is what I want on my ad, well, I'm happy to talk about it. So I say it's your beautiful display ad. And we don't even use the word advertising. I don't say the word advertising. It doesn't exist in my media kit. I don't even use it. The only time the words AD appear in my entire media kit is when it says that graphical ads are part of the overall sponsorship package, and it's all about promoting your business on Cod Today. So my advice to you guys would be to, as easy as we use the word advertising internally in our sales, in our meeting. Okay, but externally, it's about promoting your business on CodToday.com. And it sounds awkward because you just want to say, how about advertising? No, you say promoting your business on CodToday.com. So getting, full circle back to what I was saying, now that, I think what both of you guys are offering as far as a new way to show ads, and you said you don't even like the word ads.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I think it's awesome. I mean, I think it's something I definitely want to offer. Right. And what we have found that in the mobile version of CodToday.com, so you can go scroll down, and then we're taking what we call the big box ads, which are 300 by 250, and those don't show up on our mobile site, but those people are paying the most. So how are we gonna solve that problem? So they all have a half-typed version of those that are running and they're interspersed in the stories. They actually look pretty good on a, you can read them, they look pretty good.
Right.
And they would be even better if they were, updatable.
Right.
So I'm seeing some real, hope, and I was really just grappling before I came here with how do we do
Yeah.
Julie, what percentage of the time are you guys doing the ad creative for a marketer?
75%. We have a lot of mom and pop.
Let's sort of break this up, like we're way behind schedule, lunch is ready, and
Okay.
there's also a coaching session.
Oh, yeah.
75% of the time?
Oh, yeah. Oh, we've got like mom and pop.
Yeah, he's waiting on
Is that? So,
Yeah.